What's good, y'all? It's HB, Punch and Profit. Let's get straight to the business. Mike Tyson, Jake Paul. I mean, what did y'all expect? What did y'all expect? The devil was in the details. Everything you needed to know was right in front of you. 14-ounce gloves, 6 to 8 rounds, okay? 2-minute rounds. That told you everything you needed to know. This was an exhibition. Now you got people in the background say, "Oh, it was scripted." It doesn't need to be scripted, asshole. It doesn't need to be because it's it's said without even needing to be said to people literally, in person, physically. It doesn't need. They don't need to sit down in a dark room and say, "Okay, this is what we're gonna do. Mike, you do this, and Jake, you do this." It's an exhibition. The rules of the fight told you everything you needed to know. It doesn't need to be scripted. He's 58 years old. I understand, man. Look, I watched for a reason. He's Mike Tyson. He was a demigod in his prime. He was like the closest version to Hercules. He was this 5'10", 220-pound heavyweight, murking people twice his size within one round, youngest heavyweight champ. He was merciless. I don't even know what that means, but it sounded right. He was a savage. How about that? He was a savage. And everybody who experienced that or got to watch it, or even if you watched it on YouTube, it was crazy. And obviously there is that glimmer we all had. Even the fighters who know what this was going to be and were watching, we all watch because you never know. Those crazy moments do happen, and we just wondered, man, maybe he can rewind back the hands of time for 15 seconds. Just if he can have a flashback of Iron Mike for 15 seconds and just drop one combo on Jake Paul, or just get that one shot and land it flush. Maybe, just maybe we can get that shocking moment, right? That fairy tale story, that redemptive, you know, you turn back the hands of time and you got one over Father Time. That's why we watch. People like me or people who have experience in the sport and know what it is. That's why you never know. And there's that glimmer, that one moment, maybe. And he still is Mike Tyson, right? He still is Mike Tyson. And people aren't giving him enough credit for how amazing and remarkable it is to be 58 and get in the shape he did and step in that ring against somebody that was 27 years old. I know a lot of people looked at it and said, "Oh, he was just standing there." His legs were shot, folks. His legs were shot. And that's why I knew this fight was going to be what it was. Because one of the first things I said was, look, I know Mike still got the technique. I know Mike, if he can get within range, the power is still there. The head movement was still there. I was actually very impressed by his head movement. But the only time he could utilize it is when he set his feet because his legs were shot. He was slipping punches very well for a 58-year-old man against a 27-year-old with a little pop in his punch. He was slipping very well. But his legs, he couldn't move. And me, somebody who studied Tyson a lot, that peekaboo style, that customado taught him, that is not a friendly style towards a 58-year-old. Even a 30-year-old, let alone a 30-year-old, is going to have a hard time maintaining that type of movement and footwork that is needed. It's a beautiful style when executed properly and when you're conditioned for it. It's one of the most interesting styles in boxing, and we're probably never going to see it again, especially to the level that Tyson did it. He had guys like Floyd Patterson who did some old timers, old school boxers, but that is not an efficient way of fighting for anybody. But if you can execute it, it's a beautiful thing to watch, like a prime Mike Tyson. There's so much head movement and footwork and angles required, and it's a lot. I think it would have been a better thing to see like a James Toney, or you think about a Floyd Mayweather. They have that Philly shell. It's a very efficient way of fighting. It's a very efficient style because you don't have to move a lot. You kind of just slide back and forth, left and right, just subtly move, and you kind of sit behind that shoulder and you pick off shots with your right hand and just counter straight down the pipe. It's very efficient. It's very easy to kind of maintain that into old age, right? But this style, this peekaboo style by Tyson, that squared up stance where you got to cut angles and you got to bob and weave and duck and roll. I was like, man, how's Tyson going to close that gap with his legs at 58? That was my whole issue with the thing. It's like his legs are going to be shot. He's 58 years old. I played college football. I tore my ACL. I tore my PCL on one knee. I've had 5 surgeries, 3 on one, 2 on the other. Shredded my meniscus in both knees, my cartilage. I'm nowhere near the age of Mike Tyson, but when I go in the ring, sometimes my legs just cut out from under me. Not because I got hit or I'm off balance. They fall out from under me, and sometimes I completely just fall. Nobody touched me. That's how bad my knees are. So I can't imagine a Mike Tyson who's 58, I mean, essentially 60 years old. He's put in all that road work and road pounding his knees on the pavement, all the punishment, all the training, and y'all think he's going to move the way he needs to move to close that distance against a 27-year-old who has decent power? Not happening. But of course I watched. Of course I watched because maybe, right? Maybe. Now, look, if you did spend your money on this, I don't know who was crazy enough to buy a ticket to it, but if you did buy a ticket to it or you got a Netflix account, look, if you watched Amanda Serrano, Katie Taylor, or Ramos versus Barrios, you got your money's worth, right? Actual boxing matches, legit fights, you got your money's worth with that. I hope people at least watched those 2 fights. They were phenomenal, right? They were phenomenal. Now, if you just watched the last matchup and you spent money on it, I mean, what did you expect? It's an exhibition. I don't think this was scripted, you guys. It doesn't need to be scripted because it's an exhibition. You're not supposed to kill each other in an exhibition. And I don't even hate on what Jake Paul did. Why is everybody mad at Jake Paul? He made $30 million. Let me ask you, if someone asked you to get in the ring with an old Mike Tyson, okay, for $30 million, we're all going to say yes. I'm sorry. We're all going to say yes to that. Prime Mike Tyson's a different story. Most of us don't want to be near, even for 30 million, we might question, right? Is it a good idea? Because I might not come out alive against the prime Mike Tyson. But an old Mike Tyson who shot 30 million? Why are y'all mad at Jake Paul? Of course he's going to take that fight. Now, I think where he crosses the line is he'll say stuff like, I'm the face of boxing and, I'm this good and that. That's where it gets irritating, right? But, he's kind of supposed to say that. He's been a YouTuber his whole life. He knows how to market. Clearly knows how to sell a fight. Clearly. That stadium was packed, man. And it wasn't just because of Jake, right? It was because of Mike Tyson. But you think Jake Paul didn't know what Mike Tyson was bringing to the table in terms of fans and the financial aspect and the magnitude? You think he didn't understand that? That's why he wanted to take on Mike Tyson, because they were going to make boatloads of money. He's not going to make that money with some no name boxer who nobody cares about or ever seen. Why are you mad at Jake Paul? He's a hustler. If you don't like what he's doing, don't buy it. Don't watch it. I commend the man. He's showing the blueprint to how to run your business if you're a fighter in boxing. So I ain't mad at him. And he actually gained a lot of my respect last night because I don't want to say he carried Mike Tyson, but he probably could have poured it on him at times and went for a very nasty KO. Now, he did land a pretty good overhand right within the first round or two that hit Mike flush on, I want to say, near his temple, and Mike ate it like a champ. Uh, so that wasn't fake, you guys. Mike still can take a good shot, but the thing is this: he actually gained my respect last night because especially that closing round, I felt like Mike was hanging on for dear life, and Jake Paul probably could have poured it on him and started teeing off. And instead, what does he do? He takes a bow before the end of the round. He's saying respect. Respect to a legend. Respect to the icon of Mike Tyson. This dude who's done so much for the sport. This guy who I looked up to, in a sense, in a context, when I was watching boxing. Respect to him. And that deserves a lot of respect towards Jake Paul on my end. I know a lot of people are pouring it on him and saying, "Oh, yes, he needs if he's really trying to be a boxer, he needs to take fights with actual boxers." He's kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place because he's probably doing this for money as well. I don't think he's just doing this purely to become a champion as much as he says it. I think that's all marketing. I think he's doing this for money and he enjoys it, right? He's doing it the right way. You Mexican fans never hold Canelo accountable, okay? He's taking these garbage fights and making excuses left and right in terms of who he's cherry picking. But I don't see Mexican fans getting mad at him. Jake Paul is not even, has not even he doesn't have the resume or career that Canelo Alvarez. He didn't put in that work from the beginning, right? He's not in that realm of boxing. So what do you expect from Jake Paul? And I'm not even hating on Canelo. Hey man, if you can go make fights beating up Berlanga, do it, man. And if people are willing to pay for it, do it. Go for it. Go beat up guys that you know you can beat up and get paid boatloads of money because boxers have been on the shit end of the stick, okay, when it comes to the fight game. And I'm glad they're making their money. And they put a lot on the line. And even though I think Canelo is ducking guys like Beterbiev or, David Benavidez, and I do think he ducked Crawford, uh, I still respect the man greatly. I think that he's earned his position and to do what he wants to do. I mean, I don't like what he's saying, just like Jake Paul. I think he's being disingenuous in some of the things he's saying. But at the end of the day, like I said, I always bring context into the picture. That man has a family and he still has a life to live after boxing. And this is his way he makes his money. This is his business. And if you can find a way to make money and not have to take a lot of damage, why would I suggest you not do that? The same with Jake Paul. Look, at the end of the day, man, this is his show. And if he can make a lot of money beating up, or taking on Mike Tyson in exhibition, why would I be mad at that? Because I would do the absolute same thing. And most of you too would. Most of you too would. And most of you wouldn't even put in half the work that Jake Paul's doing. I know he's putting in work. Go look at his nose. It's bent. It's curved. That tells me he's been sparring. Okay, he's been putting in work. This was a money grab, of course, but nobody asked you to buy the fight. Okay, you weren't forced. You didn't have a gun to your head. And if you knew anything about boxing or tried to understand anything about it, you knew what was coming. I know Mike Tyson wasn't going to be able to move like he was when he was. Now, I'll say this. I thought maybe we could get Mike Tyson from the Roy Jones Jr. fight. I thought that would have been good enough to put on an interesting matchup, an interesting exhibition, right? Because he moved fairly well in that fight for someone who's like 54 years old. He moved very well for a 54-year-old. But unfortunately, 27 going on like 33 is not the same as 54 going on 58. Each of those years in your 50s, you're going to start to feel things start to compound against your body exponentially. Year after year after year. You're going to feel every bit of it. And I think a lot of people were a little bit critical of Mike and saying, "Oh, well, he didn't stay there. He did the best he could. He did." Okay? He did the absolute best he could, and I think he proved something for himself to get in there. It's not just about going in there and knocking somebody or winning. I think Mike just wanted to get in shape and be disciplined and go through that experience. And I think he's genuinely proud of himself for mixing it up, probably facing the fear of getting in there again, and going, regardless of whether it's an exhibition. I always give respect to people who are willing to step in the ring. It takes a lot. And he put in that work and that discipline and went through the process, because that's what it is. It's a process you have to go through training for a fight. And he's probably really proud of himself for doing that, Probably really proud of himself for doing that. And he should be, because how many 58-year-olds could have done that? So, my perspective is, I don't know what y'all expected from this. Knowing that your legs are your foundation in boxing, especially with a style like Mike Tyson's, where it requires lots of movement and angles and even hop stepping. Like, I don't know how a 58-year-old is going to maintain that. A beautiful thing about like a James Tony shoulder roll, Philly shell, it's a very efficient style. And you can be an older person, but you can sit behind that Philly shell and pick off shots with your hand and catch and shoot. Boom, easy work. But man, a peekaboo style of fighting, that betrayed Tyson even when he was getting into his 30s. That type of style of boxing betrays you quick. That's why we didn't see him reign for a very long time. There was other factors into that, right? In terms of discipline and going through things outside of the ring. But even then, it's hard to maintain that style. Very difficult. Even for a very talented fighter like Tyson, it's hard. You know, I'd say I always compared Tyson to a tornado. He was like a tornado, short-lived, but he's going to fuck shit up when he touches down. Right? Like, he's gonna fuck shit up. It's not going to be like a hurricane that sits on the ground for a long time and you know causes damage slowly but surely. It's a fucking he's coming for like a a short period of time, but he's going to blaze through everything. And when it's over, it's over. That's what Mike Tyson was, like the Tasmanian devil, right? So I don't know what people expected. I was actually impressed with Tyson, that you can be 58 years old and do that. I felt there it was mixed emotions, right? There was also a part of me that was sad to see a lion, not being a lion anymore, because, and why? Because we're all going to have to face that one day. We all have to face father time. We all have to face we're not going to be able to do things that we used to do when we were young. And we all hope that somebody can beat Father Time at least once, but nobody can. Okay, nobody can. And it sucks. It sucks to see one of your childhood heroes uh fade like that. It's tough. It's tough because we also know it's coming for us too. But Mike deserves this, you guys. He deserves his 20 million, and nobody should say a damn thing about it because that guy has been screwed and used by people and manipulated like the trash that Don King was, stole money from him. He deserves his 20 million. After everything he's done in boxing, I'm so glad he got paid. I'm so glad he got paid, you guys. And good for him, man. And he didn't cheat people out of this. He genuinely trained the best he absolutely could for a 58-year-old. God bless him. He got his payday. He deserves it. Everything he's been through in life and how much he's been screwed out of money in the sport of boxing. This guy deserves his 20 mil. So this is Havoc, HB, Punch and Profit. It was what it was, you guys. I don't know what you expected, but I actually came out of this feeling decent. If we saw Tyson get completely flatlined and demolished and Jake Paul's, dancing over him, that would have been, very difficult to watch. But, I think both of them did the right thing. I think even Jake Paul, believe it or not, but at some point, Jake is going to have to step up if he truly wants to be recognized as a respectable boxer. He's going to have to take on more actual boxers in his division, his actual age, roughly around, right? Who can fight. But until then, you're probably not going to get too much respect from the boxing community. But to be fair, he's only 10 fights in. He's only 10 fights in. But it's time for him to graduate to better things, right? Because I don't think you're going to be convincing anybody to buy too many fights like this. Maybe one or two more left, depending on the opponent. But you know, either get with it, man, or you're gonna have to keep on pulling stuff out of your ass and finding opponents who can pretty much convince us that we're gonna see something entertaining. But this is HB Punch and Profit. Comment down below, like the video, subscribe. What do you think of the whole event last night? Peace.